Bonjour Year 10. So today, even though we've finished our holidays topic, we're now going to use it as a context to help us build some vocabulary and also improve our past paper skills. So if you're writing this in your books, you can put chez moi at home and today's date or the date of whenever you're doing it. And so by the end of today's lesson, we're going to improve our number recall because numbers come up in every single topic, but it's not something we keep learning in class because we learn them once and then you've got to remember them. Okay, so we're going to do a bit of number recall to help bring them back to our memory and improve upon them. And then test our holidays vocabulary, like I said, do some past paper questions. And we're going to do that in some exam style walkthrough. So I will show you if I was sitting the exam, how I would answer those questions. Okay, so I'm going to start first of all with, and I might heard some of you sigh there as you recognise these grids that we've done in class before. Okay, so as you remember, we used to do those 5-minute translations at the start of the lesson where I'd put up 40 or so words and see how many you can remember, and we'd keep repeating it to help build up that vocabulary. So we're going to do it with numbers today. So you're going to, in a moment, pause the lesson, and just like in class, don't use Google Translate, don't use a book, don't use a dictionary, just write down the English that you can remember. Okay, so you write the letter. If you can't remember A, leave it blank. B, if you know what it is, write it down. You can just put the digits for this, okay, rather than the English, I guess, in your book or your work area, wherever you're working, okay? If you don't know what the number is, then write the French, okay? So if I didn't know, says, I'll write A, says, B, write the number, whatever it is, okay? So pause the video, take as long as you need, because it might be that you need more than 5 minutes, might be less, that's okay. And then we're going to go through them, okay? Now, before we move on to the English, we're just going to go over the pronunciation because numbers often cause a lot of issues with pronunciation in French, but also they are good examples sometimes of some general pronunciation things we need to remember in other words. So we're just going to go through the pronunciation. So I'll say the numbers and then you repeat after me. We're not going to necessarily do them all if they are have come up before. Okay, so you've got 16. So anytime you have EI in French, it's an E sort of sound. 16. You have 10, and then together with that, 8. So 18. So UI in French is a we sound, like in the word yes. 13. So we've got the air sound there again. 13. Q in French we know is never quoi. It's like a K sound. So hopefully you can remember this as 15. 14. 19. So EU in French is always an E sound. Like it's something like lazy, paresseux at the end, or boring, ennuyeux. EU always has that E sound. 11. 20. So this is never winked, okay? 20. 17. So the P is silent. 12. So OU in French always makes that OO sound. Now all of these, and give you a bit of a clue what they mean in a moment as I say this, all of the ones that are 30, 40, 15, 16 and so on, all of the 10s all have an ont sound at the end, and we pronounce the T because the E is on the end. So the T is not on the end, so it's not silent. 30. 40. Hope you remember this as 5, and then with this 50. OI in French makes a wa sound. Think about the word poisson on the number 3, trois. So 60, 70, 75, 80, the S is silent. And then these are all repeats of some before. So we're going to jump up to here, son. So the T now it is on the end, so although it's similar spelling here, it's called the on. En in French is always an on sound. The T is not on the end, so we do not say it, son. So again, these are all repeats, but let's just practice a couple. 328. So we've got a new one here, 5231. So we'll say that. So 5231. And then we've got a very long one here, so let's go for this one. 4,800,599. So it might have taken you quite a while to translate that one. We'll put that one into numbers, sorry. Let's see how well you did with that. 4,800,599. So where you got these dashes, remember that means they're all like one number, like these higher numbers here. Okay, and then the second part, hopefully you picked up, are all times. So let's have a look at some of the pronunciation. Il est quelle heure? Il est une heure. So I'm saying the T here because the next word starts with a vowel. Okay. À 1h05. And this A, when it is a small A, has an accent that is a grave accent coming down like this. 2h10. So deux, when it's followed by a word that starts with a vowel, it's pronounced as deux. Same for trois, 3h20. If you say 3h, it's okay, but if you want to sound more authentically French, try what we call a liaison, where you link these. So 2h10, 3h20. So this word is heure. So we've got that e sound, like we saw over here in neuf. Neuf, heure. Okay. Then we have this sound here, the OI sound, like over here, moi. So 8h-10, 8h-15. Then this word is midi, midi 10, minuit. So that we sound again, like in huit. Minuit et quart. So this is not quart, it's quart. Okay. Because the T is silent on the end, and we treat QI like a K. Okay, quart. Okay, so that covers all of the sounds. You can go back and repeat or practice some of the ones we didn't say based on ones we did say to see if you can work out all of the sounds, okay? Right, now let's have a look at the English. So pause the lesson again to mark yours. So just like we would in class, you mark your own. For any that you did not know or any you got wrong, then please make sure you've written the French and the English. So if I didn't know 16, I would have written before A says, and then I would have written now I can write equals 16. But I wrote down the number for this one. If I got it right, I would tick it, and that's fine. So what I'd like you to do now is between now and the next lesson, revise the ones that you did not know. And we'll have a go at it next time to see how much we've improved on. Okay? So you can either rewind the video if you want to see the French. So pause the video and just rewind a little, or you can go to the PowerPoint below this and flick through on the Google Slides between slides 2 and 3. Okay, so pause now and write down your numbers that you did not know. It might be at this point you're writing down a lot because you've been a while since you've looked at numbers and therefore you've forgotten lots, but numbers are really important. Like I said, they come up in every topic. So next week you'll be writing down a lot less, and then the final week even less again. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go on to our past papers now. So if you want to print these so you can physically highlight them, then the Word document for these is below the slideshow. Okay, right at the bottom of all of the lesson videos and slideshows, you'll see the Word document. You can click on it to download, and it's got all of our past papers and translation in that document. Okay, so you can either print it, highlight it, and answer on there, and then send me a picture of it in Moodle, upload the picture, or you can just do it digitally. You can insert text boxes over it, or you can just have it on next to you on the screen, have the reading next to you while you type the answers onto a blank Word document. I don't mind whatever you do. I just want to see your answers before I reveal the correct answers to you. Okay, that's so I know how you did. So as I said at the beginning of the lesson, we're going to do this as kind of like a walking, talking mock. So I'm going to walk through and talk through how I would answer this if I was sitting the GCSE, sort of. Okay, so I'm not going to fully tell you everything. I'm going to kind of act as if I was one of you and base it upon, I'm going to assume that you don't know words because I don't want to give words away. So if I was coming to this question here. So this is question 4 on the foundation reading in 2019. So we're looking mainly at holiday vocabulary in the next couple of questions, but there's always an overlap between topics, so just bear that in mind, okay? So first of all, I always need to read this. Don't just jump straight to the reading and the questions. It's always good to read what it's telling you to do. So lis cet email de Kevin. So hopefully I can remember lire from the verb read. Email Kevin. Répond looks like respond. Questions en français. So I know we're going to answer the questions in French. If you write any English in your question, in your answers, you will not get any marks, okay? Now, although initially it can seem daunting that the questions are in French and you're answering in French, what you need to remember is you don't have to actually understand the answer that you've written, because you keep it in the French, so it's less daunting than it appears, okay? So what I would do if I was coming to this question in an exam is to skim read it first, to get a rough idea of what the text is about, not look at the questions at all initially, because sometimes you can jump straight into it and miss points. So I would skim read it and highlight it or underline it, make some notes over it if I wanted to see what I know. So if you want to pause the video now before I give any clues or anything away, then you can, or you can watch me pretending to be one of you answering it, okay? So like I said before, I'm not going to sit it from the point of view of a teacher who knows the words. I'm going to pretend I don't know the words and just look at the cognates, because if I give away some of the words, then you're not getting a realistic chance to answer this from your point of view, because I told you some of the words, okay? So if I was skim reading this, so it's from Kevin to Amélie. Je passe une fin de semaine chez mes copains en Belgique. So I can see the name of a place, because it's got a capital letter. I think I know what that is. I know the word copain, although it's not a cognate. Hopefully we know the word chez. I'm going to assume this person is not from Belgique, because of the fact that they're talking about being with their friends in Belgique. So hier, hopefully you know hier, really important trigger word, as is aujourd'hui. We're telling you what tense is coming next. So hopefully I remember samedi as the day of the week. And I've got j'ai passé and j'ai visité here. We really now should know what this tense is. I've got a j'ai with a word ending in an E accent. So hopefully I know that tense. I know straight away when this happened. Passer du temps. Hopefully you remember what temps is, but if not, our cognates are grand. Magasin is a common way we could hopefully know. And at the grand magasin, I did des courses. So do des courses. What would I do in magasin? Et visiter les musées. So that's nice and clear. So like a rough idea so far. Somebody going to Belgium with friends. They've gone to big magasin. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Hope you remember. And museums. Then we jump to dimanche, or the next day. Might give me a clue then about what tense each is in, especially as I've got aller, go. So parc à thème, if I put those together, theme park. Okay, so that was Sunday. Je vais rester toute la journée. I assume this is still referring to there, because it hasn't gone on to a new idea. Something about staying there, okay. Weekend formidable, fatigant. So I've got an idea here that tiring, but the fact that I've got a but there implies something good here. So something about the weekend being good, but tiring. Pourtant, not sure of that one, but amuse bien. So amusing themselves well. Then we've got the verb going, cinema, and another word here. Okay, so I've got a rough idea now of what's going on in the text, because I've brought out any cognates or obvious words. So now I will look at the questions. So what I'd like you to do is, you could stop right now and pause the video and go through the questions yourself. Write your initial answers, then replay and do it with me with the walking, talking mock, how I would deal with the questions. So you've had a go at how you would cope with it at the moment, and then have a go at it with me giving you the hints of how I could approach this in an exam. So I would look at the questions, and straight away I'm thinking I need to know what the question words mean, because I've got où, qu'est-ce que, combien, quel et quand. 5 different question words, and if I don't know what the question word means, that's going to completely change what's going on. Because this one, for example, où est-ce que Kevin passe le week-end? So something about Kevin on the weekend. Is it what something that Kevin did on the weekend? Is it when he did something on the weekend? Is it who it was with? Is it where? Is it how much? Unless I know that question word, it's going to be really tricky to answer the question. But this is where the exam tips of walking it through come in, that if I don't know the question word, I need to at least locate it in the text, and that might help me work out what the possible answers could be. So I know that the next question is talking about samedi, which is here. So I'm going to assume that this one only covers the first sentence as far as here. So I know the answer is somewhere in there at least, because that goes on to samedi. So it's always good to have a look at what the next question is about and read a bit further to help you locate where in the text it would be. So, je passe une fin de semaine chez mes copains en Belgique. So he's got passe le weekend, passe there, weekend, fin de, so it's passe something. And then let's look at what it could be. So it could be, I've got people here, so it could be like with who did he spend his weekend? But I can't see the word with, because if it was who, but it could be that that's parts with, maybe I'm not sure, or what other information gives me. It gives me a place, so it could be that it's asking me where. So I've at least located two things that could answer the question. So now I've given you some clues. Hopefully it's triggered some memory for you there, or maybe you just have an idea of which one it could be. So I'm answering in French, or I could either put chez mes copains or en Belgique. There's only two possible things there really. It's either who did he spend his weekend with, or where did he spend his weekend. Where is he spending his weekend if it's present? Where is he going to spend his weekend if it's past, depending if you know your tense. Okay, samedi then. I know there's two details. So if I skim read here, this is the sentence about samedi, and I'm just going to check. The next question is about the parc à thème, which is in this sentence. So I'm going to assume question 2 goes from hier to musée. So two details, so therefore I know there's two things that happen in here. And I can see a big thing here and then and. So I'm going to assume that we've got one detail here, then and then the other detail here. Now, even though I might not understand what all of this means, and I might not even be not sure what tense it's in, I know I've got two details. Now I can't put j'ai passé du temps dans l'écran and so on, because j'ai, hopefully we know, is I. So I can either change this, I don't remember, to il, he, but I'm going to have to change that part, because hopefully we remember that it's I have, which would give you a clue about the tense. So I could either write he has and write out the whole thing, and then for the other detail, he has, and write out the whole thing. Or I could just take parts of it. So I could just take les musées as one detail and find the activity from this one. Okay, so have a go at answering that question if you haven't, and then pause and continue. Okay, so the third one now is in this sentence here about the theme park, but we need to make sure that we always read on. So the next one is his opinion on the weekend, and I remember he mentioned about it being tiring, and there was a but, there's probably something positive here. So I think this question is probably including this sentence here, because his opinion comes there. So combien de temps passer au parc à thème? So I've already told you what passer means, spend. So spend in the theme park. So what's it going to be here? This is, again, it's so important about knowing the question word. So if you didn't know the question word, combien de temps, you could read here. So it could be asking me when, because I've got the detail of Sunday. When did he spend time in the theme park? Je vais aller à un parc à thème. Or when is he going to? Je vais y rester toute la journée. So he's going to do something toute la journée. Or it could be, that's not who with, because there's no who in that sentence. And it's not like what he did there, because I can't see any details. So maybe you've started to work out what it means based on some of the details that are there. But so you're either going to have to, in an exam, if you don't know what the question word means, pull out something that could fit it. So I could either think, right, it's asking me when is he going to be at the theme park, so put aujourd'hui au dimanche. Or I might think it's part of this question, because it might be that it means something else. I don't want to give too much more away. So write down what you think is the part that matches the question. And if you already know what combien de temps means, then it's obviously a lot easier to answer that question. But but I'm not going to tell you because I want you to act as if you were in an exam. How would you answer it just based on trying to work things out, okay? Okay, D. His opinion then on the weekend. So this question word here, you can guess what it is because you're not going to say where is his opinion on the weekend, how many is his opinion on the weekend. It's obviously saying what or which is his opinion of the weekend. And it says write one detail, which implies to me that there's more than one. So I'm going to go with the detail that I feel most confident about, that is an opinion that I recognise. So that for me would be fatigant. Okay? Because quel weekend formidable, I can guess that this is probably an adjective, but just in case it's not, I feel more confident about this one. That's what I would go for in the exam. Okay? Okay, quand est-ce qu'il va aller au cinéma? So we've got something, he's going to cinema. Hopefully you can recognise this tense. Now the fact that we've got a different person here, we are going to cinema, and the only other detail that is given is demain, even if I don't know what quand means, that's what I'm going to put for the answer, because it doesn't tell me anything else about the cinema. Nous allons au cinéma demain. Il va au cinéma. Il, instead of nous, va, instead of allons, because that's the spelling of go that goes with il. Au cinéma, so I'm going to put that. So even if you don't know what quand is, you found the one detail that fits. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea that even if you don't know what things mean, and even if you feel like you've got zero idea of an answer, you can work out a lot by looking at where the answer should be in the text, by looking at what the next question's about, by splitting up into possible bits that it could be in the sentence, and then, sort of narrowing it down through that sort of knowledge and your prior knowledge. Okay, so let's have a look at the answers that would be accepted in the exam. So in case you didn't know, où is where. So where does Kevin spend the weekend? Now, it's not just en Belgique you could have put. Even if you thought he was asking with who, chez des copains actually makes sense for where does he spend his weekend. So at his friend's house, at des amis, you could change the word for amis, or en Belgique. Any of those would be fine. Okay? In Belgium. If you just put Belgique, I'm sure they'd accept that too. This is just what they gave for the set answers. Okay? Qu'est-ce qu'il a fait samedi? So what did he do on Saturday? Okay? He did. So you could have put il a fait instead of j'ai fait. Shopping, des courses. Or you could put it in the infinitive, faire les courses. You didn't have to put that. You could just put des courses. You could put he visited, il a visité museums. Or you could just put les musées. Or in the infinitive, visiter les musées. If you put I visited museums or I went to shops and did shopping, then you wouldn't get the mark. Okay? And they haven't allowed les grands magasins, big shops, or in other words, like department stores, because the activity that he did there is faire des courses. They wanted to know that you understood he did shopping there rather than go for food in the department store, whatever it is. Okay? So, next one. Combien de temps? How much time? Now, wrong way. If you put in today or Sunday, that wouldn't really make sense because it doesn't imply how long. It's this part here. I am going to spend there. Stay there, sorry. Not rest, it means stay. Stay there. Tout is all. And then we can see the word day. When you're talking about a full day, they use journée instead of jour. So, toute la journée, all day, is taken straight from the text, or one whole day, une journée, or one day, un jour. Any of those would have been fine, okay? What is his opinion of the weekend? The two details, they would have accepted either formidable, which means sort of excellent or brilliant, or tiring. And then when is he going to the cinema? There was that word there, demain, because that means when. Or you might have worked out the fact that that was Monday, because he talked about Saturday and Sunday, and therefore the next day is Monday. Okay, so what I want you to do is make sure that you've left your original answers as usual and just marked them so I can see how you did. You might even have two sets of answers, how you answered it without any walking and talking it through, and then how you answered it once you'd walked it through. You might have made some changes or showed me what you changed it to. So do the same for the next one. Keep your answers, or if you want, keep your initial answers and then your new answers, however you want, just as long as I can see how you've done roughly, okay? Right, so this was the very next question in last year's foundation paper, which was about tourism in Wales. So they're starting now on these WJC papers to often put something about Wales in them, so it's usually in the holidays topic. So read the tourist information in French about an attraction in South Wales, answer the questions in English. So if this time you lift anything straight from the text and put it in French, you won't get the mark, okay? So same as before, I'm gonna skim read, so pause now and skim read for yourself, and then listen to how I would skim read and pull out information. It's really similar to before, and again, I'm not going to say what everything means. I'm going to just say what, I assume you should definitely know, but realistically should know more than what I'm just saying, but I don't want to give things away, okay? So I can start straight away with M, and I know j'aime is I like, so like, histoire, so I can see history, visit, that looks like ancient, mine, that looks exactly like the word mine, not sure what charbon is, big pit, I might recognise the name of that, and then even Blaenavon, okay? And then entrée looks like entry, and then hopefully we know gratuite, but if we don't, then maybe we'll work it out later on. Visite guidée, so it looks like visit, guide, this has got an E accent there, so that should trigger a tense in my head. Souterrain, maybe I remember sous, and then what's about terrain, terrain is like talking about the ground or earth. 50 minutes, so that's of the length of time of the guided visit, and then that must be a number because it's come before minutes. Les guides, and then ancien, ancient, or maybe it doesn't mean ancient here because I've got something that looks like miners, so maybe that doesn't mean ancient. That'd be a bit insulting to call these miners ancient. And then parle, so somebody is talking, guessing it's the miners. Experience, hopefully we know leur, but something about experience. Travailler, we should know that verb, so I'm not going to give it away. Mine, I hope you remember it, don as well. So then we've got, looks like attention, might not mean exactly the same, so talking to me, you plural, vous, porter. Now this verb we did school, so hopefully remember that one. If not, might be able to work it out in context. So something, I need a lamp. Okay, so you, and, so I'm obviously going to need a lamp and, because it's got an and there and something else. And this lamp is something about 5 kilos, okay. Marcher, so 700 meters. So maybe that means like how far down we're going to go in this mine, or how far the tour is perhaps. Verb that we haven't seen, but I know this bon here and chaussure we've done before, and pool and chaud. So those were, I'm not going to give them away again, but those are words by this stage we should know. Après, visite, so again, something I should know, I'm not going to give it away, but something about the visit, acheter fromage, so that fabric past tense here. So it's not, might mean fabric, but it's got a clue here that it's past tense. And sur place. Okay, so hopefully you know sur, but there's not a lot of cognates for me to work out from here, which is why I really need to know my vocabulary for some of these. So I might need to use the question to help me with that part there, because I can't see many things I know here. Okay, so I've had a look at the text now. Now I'll look at the questions. So who would be interested, the cost, the guided tour, what we talked about the tour guides. So somewhere in there it mentions a guided tour and somewhere it mentions tour guides. A piece of advice, one detail, therefore there must be 2, and usually about the product you can buy. Right, okay, so that's given me a clue now because that's at the end. That's probably about this bit. So it's something about a product I can buy there. Okay, so let's come to A. Who would be particularly interested in this local attraction? So I'm going to go straight to the beginning and look at what I understood here. So write down what you think about who would be interested in this local attraction, because we talked about what that means and we talked about what that means. So hopefully you've got an idea there for that one, because that's all about a cognate and vocabulary knowledge. If you didn't recognise aimer, then the fact that this says history, who would be particularly interested in this location? local attraction, sorry. Well, somebody who's interested in history, okay? How much does it cost to visit? So that's got to be in this next part here. And I can see entry, and I can't see a number anywhere at all. So what does that tell me about this? So unless this is a number I don't recognise, what does that tell me about the cost? Because guaranteed lots of people in the exam will ignore this question because they cannot find a cost. So have a think there. Okay, so the guided tour, one detail that tells you there's more than one. So visite guidée souterraine de 50 minutes, because that must be guided and visit, and it's the next sentence in the thingy, and the next bit's about tour guides, and I can see guides there. So there's got to be two details in here. So I'm going to guess that one of them is this bit and one of them is this bit. Well, that's harder to work out because it's less like English, so I'm going to go with this bit. I've got the word minutes there, so I'm going to think, well, that means they last a certain amount of minutes. Now, we did numbers right at the beginning. Hopefully we recognise 5, but it isn't 5 minutes, it's got that extra bit there. So put down which number you think it is. Hopefully we've got our numbers right, especially after the beginning of the lesson. What are we told about the tour guides? Write one detail. Now for these here, if you wrote 2 details and one of them you get wrong, that one you get wrong will count as a minus, okay? So please make sure you only write one detail in case you get the other one wrong, because it will cancel out the right one. Okay, so the tour guides, 2 details. So you can see that there's something about ancien mineur, par l'expérience travaillé dans la mine. Okay, so we talked about here, but that looks like miners, and that looks like ancient, but it would be a bit insulting if they wrote ancient miners in this. So what could it be telling me about? That could be one detail. Or if I'm not sure about that, I can read on. I know this is talking, parle, so the guides are talking, something experience, travailler, something in the mine. Okay, so work out, might not know l'heure, but hopefully you know the verb travailler. What is that saying about these miners and what they're talking about? Okay, that could be the other detail. What advice are you given? There's 2 details. So I'm going to guess this part is about the advice, because in this bit it's talking about the product you can buy. And now I've seen that word buy, it's triggered my memory that acheter means to buy. So that's that. I know that this is all about E here. So let's find some things I recognise. So something about the lamp, and then 5 kilos. What's that got to do with the lamp? See if you can work that out. And that could be the detail you choose. Or maybe you know the verb marcher, so you know that's the detail. Okay, but then is that giving me advice? No. I know it's about 700 meters, but they're not giving me any advice, I think. That just gives me information. So it's telling me bon chaussure and pour chaud. Well, that, I know these words, from previous topics. So hopefully we know what piece of advice this is here. So choose which one. Okay, I'm both all there. What is unusual about the product you can buy? So acheter, buy. Now fromage, hopefully we know the word fromage, but it doesn't necessarily tell me that it's unusual. So it's working out this bit here, fabriquer sur place. Now fabriquer, the fabrique is a word that we've done before that might give you a clue about this fromage. And the fact that I told you before it's got an E accent, so it's not the word fabric because it has an E accent on it, tells me that it's past. So this fromage, something happened in the past, maybe. Sur, I can't tell you what this means because I don't want to give things away. Place, is that saying place? So this is a tricky one here. It's very hard for me to give you any more details than that as advice for the exam in terms of the text. And then just try and use some general common sense if you do not know any more of the words. So they're saying I can buy this fromage at Big Pit. Well, don't go completely out there. If you don't know by now, fromage is cheese, okay? So don't put something really strange like it's cheese from, I don't know, some weird obscure animal, because that's, you know, we can't see anything like that there. We can't see A, and that's a bit far-fetched. So think logically now, if you were going to visit a tourist attraction and they're selling stuff in their shop, they want to make money, so what's that going to tell you about the things that you buy in that shop? Okay, I can't really give you any more details on that because I want you to, try and work this out for yourself of how you would face this in an exam. Okay, I'm not sure if any of that just confused you more. Right, so let's go through the answers. So who'll be interested? People who like history, because aimer, or you could put people who like coal mining, because it mentions about charbon is a coal mine. You might have guessed that, okay? The cost is nothing, or you could put it's free, because free is gratuit, free entry, okay? So the tour guide, you could either put that it's underground, souterrain, that it lasts 15 minutes. Now they've also allowed that you could put some of the things from lower down the text, the fact that you walk for 700 meters, you wear a helmet or carry a lamp, okay? What are we told about the tour guides? They're former miners, not that they are old or anything like that, ancient. Or you could put previous, or they used to be miners, anything like that. They talk about their working life, or talk about the fact that they worked down the mines, that'd be okay too. Talk about their experience. So literally it says the guides are previous or older, old as in used to be miners, not as in age, who talk about their experiences of working in the mine. Okay. Now, attention means be careful, or like a warning. So in terms of advice, saying you wear. Now, this part here, I would argue, is advice that you have to wear it. And in the exam, that wasn't clear. So if you've put a lamp which weighs 5 kilos, then or a lamp, that's fine, okay? But the other part, casque is a cap, helmet. It means both, but in this case, obviously, you'd wear a helmet. A cap wouldn't do very much. So good shoes and a warm jumper, okay? Or warm clothes, warm sweater, they would have also accepted. What is unusual about the product? So literally, this means after the visit, buy cheese made or fabricated on place, on site, in other words, okay? So it's made in Big Pit, it's made locally, or it could be that you wouldn't expect to buy cheese in a mine, okay? So sometimes they do put quite obscure questions in, so that was a difficult one there, and I couldn't give you any more hints without you having the experience of trying what it would have been like in an exam, okay? Right, so again, mark yours and leave what you put, just make the amendments in a different colour. The other type of question we're now going to go through then is a translation. So at the end of a reading, you have a translation into English. And we're going to go through this as we would in an exam, as if I was sitting it again, okay? We're splitting it up into different sections so we can look at it bit by bit. So I would skim read the whole thing first, because it's really important to get a general idea, again, even with translations, of what it's talking about, to give you a feel of whether this person is talking positively about it, or negatively, a mixture, what the tense is, does it switch tenses, and so on. So we've got week-end dernier. Hopefully you know dernier is a really important trigger. If not, we can see what tense this is in. Not going to tell you because I want you to see if you can answer what it should be like. But I've got je suis and aller with the accent. So something about Paris, family. Hopefully remember tout from earlier on in today's lesson. All, voyage, that looks like. Très long, know that part. Circulation dans Paris. So why would this journey be long? Something about circulation. Now we did this in our town topic. In Paris, énormément de voitures. So voiture, I'm not going to tell you, but hopefully we know voiture, and that might trigger then what you remember circulation as. D'abord, nous avons visité, so visit the Louvre, c'était en mieux, we hopefully know that one. And I've got a mais, which implies that's negative. Ensuite, well, I know an ensuite bathroom is next to a person's bedroom. That'll be nice. Ensuite, then give you a clue what that means. Louer des gyropodes. That's a bit trickier, but let's come back to that. Something about aller going, Arc de Triomphe. Ça, c'était assez bon, quite fun. Finally, I definitely know that verb eating, to do with eat. What tense is that? Avant manger, accent there. Petit récent typique. So we've got some 3 cognates. Something was delicious. So I can guess what repas might be based on the fact that I was in a restaurant. Okay, so we'll break it up now. We've got a gist of the text. So le week-end dernier. So if I didn't know dernier, hopefully this tense has given me a clue what that means. So I'm not going to do it word by word. When we translate word by word, we often, especially when it's English to French actually, miss things that we should be putting together and translating together. So section by section is a good idea. So I've got some sort of weekend. Is it last weekend? Is it next weekend? Is it this weekend? Let's write that here. So you can either be typing your answers, writing them in your book or a Word document, whatever it is, or you will find this grid in the Word document with the reading text as well, and you can put text boxes on if that's what you want to do. Okay? So je suis allée à Paris. If I know what this tense is, and I know what dernier is, I've either written last weekend I went to Paris, or next weekend I'm going to Paris. Avec toute ma famille. Even if I don't know avec, I've got person here, so that implies with. So last or next weekend I'm going to Paris with something, my family. Now if we didn't know toute, what could make sense here? Okay, so with a bit of my family, well that's too many words for there, so really the only word that fits there is with all my family. Okay, le voyage était très long. So voyage, or what else is another word for that in English? Something très long. So if I've thought this is future, then I'll be putting the journey is going to be very long. If I thought it was past, then I put the journey was. That's the only logical things that would make sense there. It's not is, because we know what is in French, we should do. Okay. Having read most of the text as well, it should give you a clue. The fact that they're saying things are delicious and are fun and boring, they've already made up their mind about these things. That gives you a clue about the tense as well. Okay. So the journey was or is going to be very long. Something cause, so the cause and then Paris. Right, so this is a bit tricky here. And it's all still part of this sentence. So the journey was long, which this implies that this is the cause of why the journey was long, because it's all linked together. So the journey was very long. And I started saying was because I hope that you've worked out by now that this is past tense. From the fact that we should know dernier as last, we should recognise je suis allée, I went, and the fact that they already know the food is delicious, so we know this is past. Okay, so last weekend I went to Paris with all my family. The journey was very long. Something à cause de, the journey was long. Now what would you say in English? The journey was very long, and this is your reason why, à cause de. Now that looks like part of what the word is in English as well. So see if you can work out that. And then hopefully remember from the town topic the word circulation. But if not, let's read on. It might give some clues and come back to it. Il y avait. Now, il y a, what does that mean? In the present tense, what is il y a? And I know I'm now in the past. Il y avait. So hopefully you know that part. Il y avait énormément. Any word that ends in ment is like ly in English. It's like finalement, finally. Well, enormely, that doesn't really make sense, does it? So what else could I say? Like an enormous amount, or like massive amount, that sort of thing. And then hopefully you know what voiture. So if you've got an enormously of cars, literally, what's that telling me about la circulation dans Paris? Okay, so have a go at those parts of that sentence based on the clues I've given you of what I could work out in my exam. Okay, let's continue then from d'abord. Now, this is a word that you might have come across in you're writing your holidays topic, because some of you have used it, but it's not got any cognates there, so we'd have to leave it initially and come back to it. So leave a blank and then do the next part. Nous avons visité. So we know now we're in the past, and we know hopefully who nous is. So is it I visited, we visited, he visited, whatever it is, okay? So something visited the Louvre. You should hopefully know me. And then c'était. Now I've seen été here earlier, and I know I translated this as the journey was. So if I've got was there with a se, and I know normally c'est is it is, so that implies to me what that is. Sorry, I jumped on there. So something, we visited the Louvre, but something was ennuyeux. We should know this adjective, and we know it's negative because we've got a but. So think how they might find the Louvre as well. If you know what the Louvre is, this is why it's important to know cultural knowledge of France as well as the language. It might give you a little hint as to what that adjective is, what some people would find the Louvre based on what's there. Not for everybody, okay? So, but something was, and then it's not just ennuyeux, it's a something, was a something ennuyeux. So what in sort of intensive I can't say very or quite because I've got the word a here. So that should give me a clue about what peu is. So even if you didn't know, what logical word would make sense there. So have a little go at that part, pause, and then we'll continue. Now this next part is really tricky, and you would not be expected to have known this before. I haven't taken this from a WJEC. It's just an extra one because we can't use all of the exam ones. We've got the not always in holidays, but it's a realistic one made to help revise for the WJEC, okay? But it's just going to be an extra word we can learn. I cannot envision this coming up again. So let's have a go at it, okay? Ensuite, hopefully we know that word. And that gives me now a clue of what this could be. So they're talking about what they've done and they're listing, and they've got finally as well here. So if they're describing what they're doing and they're saying finally, and I know what this one is, what could d'abord mean? So they've gotten to Paris, the journey was long, right? What did they do there? We visited the Louvre. What fits there in English? Okay, because this one means ensuite, think about the bathroom next to the bedroom. And then finalement we know is finally. So what could they have started with? Okay, so we've got ensuite, on, hope we know our person en, past tense, something des gyropodes. Now louer, there is no cognate here to help you work out what this is. So you just need to know it. Now if you did not know it, I'm going to tell you because it might give us a clue to just do a wild guess about what this one is. So louer means rented. We did it when we did accommodation. So next, somebody rented, hope you remember en. They rented something. Now, to give me a clue what this is, I'm going to need to read on. And, on est allé, same person again, and somebody went to the Arc de Triomphe. So they were at the Louvre, and then to get to the Arc de Triomphe, they have rented something. So now I need to go through what things you could possibly rent. And to be honest with you, this is a little far-fetched. But I know the word car. We've done that before. We've done the word bike. You can't rent a taxi. So trying to logically guess something you can rent. Now I'm going to give you a little clue. And this is why, again, cultural knowledge is important. The Louvre, you can get to it. It's straight up that really... So the massive, long road that you might have heard of called the Champs-Élysées. So how could you get up this one road that a lot is pedestrianised in one section? Honestly, this is a very modern word and you wouldn't be expected to know it, but just let's see if anybody can get it right. And don't worry, we really can't see that being in the exam because it's a ridiculously far-fetched word. Okay, so next we rented something and went to the Arc de Triomphe. Ça, c'était assez marrant. So we've got c'était again, that hopefully we worked out from before. Assez, an intensifier, and marrant. So these are words we should know by now of what he thought about this. So again, I can't really give you any hints because there's nothing here that looks like a cognate and nothing that implies whether or not it was positive or negative. It's just got to know that vocabulary. Okay? And then finalement, finally, nous avons mangé. So who is nous? Hopefully you recognise manger, and if you don't, what would you do in a restaurant? And then dans un petit restaurant typique, hopefully you know petit. And then typique looks like an English word, so put all that together. So finalement, ignore that après I changed it after, so finalement, nous avons mangé dans un petit restaurant typique. And then le repas était vraiment délicieux. So we worked out what était was previously in the text. Délicieux looks like the English. So something was something delicious. So hopefully we know vraiment. I already told you what words that end in mon often are in English. So something li. Hopefully we know vrai. Actually we've done vrai when we do vrai and faux. When we're answering if things are vrai and faux. Okay? And then what logically could be delicious that you've had in a restaurant. Okay, so when we go through the answers now, please make sure that you correct in a different colour. So obviously you've had this with my help, but I've not given you all the answers. I've told you how you could, with the knowledge you should have by now, logically work things out from the rest of the text. So I've got last weekend, I went to Paris with my whole family. The journey was very long. If you put voyage, they might give you the mark. The normal translation is journey, okay? Because of this, à cause de, so hopefully you worked out because of, and hopefully you worked out circulation from what I was talking about here, or you remembered it because of the traffic in Paris. There was, because remember il y a is there is, so this is the past there was, or if it's plural, then it's there were. So there was a lot of traffic, but really talking about cars, yes, there were a lot of cars, there were loads of cars, there was an enormous amount of cars, anything like that is fine as long as it's the same sort of meaning. And as long as it's good English. So if you've got firstly, well done, because we know this one is finally, or the other one in the Word document you've got finalement, okay? So finally, firstly or first, we visited the Louvre, but it was a bit boring. So we've got the a, you could have had a really boring, it's got to be a bit, it's the only thing that makes sense, okay? Or a tad, I suppose you could put, that would make sense too. I wonder if anybody guessed segues, completely random. I'd be really amazed if anybody did. Don't worry too much about that word, okay? So then we rented some segues and we went to the Arc de Triomphe. Hopefully we know that on is another way to say we. That was quite fun. If you said it was quite fun, you'll probably get the mark in the exam too, because it's putting the same sort of meaning. Finally, après is after, finalement is finally, we ate in a typical little restaurant. If you put a little typical restaurant, you might get it, but it's implying that it's only a little typical rather than the restaurant size is typical. So it's typical as in it's really typical of France, it's really stereotypical, that sort of thing. So if you put a little typical restaurant, you might get it, but it sounds a little like you're saying it's only a bit typical. And then the meal was really delicious. They might give you the food in the exam, but it's unlikely. It depends whether this is a foundation or a higher, okay? This really, the level was higher because in foundation it's split up and you definitely wouldn't have had as many connectives like these and as much imperfect as well as perfect tense, okay? So well done if you got most of that because it was a tricky translation. Right, a bit of an extra thing for you to have a go at this week, and nothing that you need to submit to me, but something that could be really useful and help you, okay? So I came across this French YouTuber, and her site is called Comme une Française, and there's a video on there called How to Speak French Without Feeling Stupid. So you can either read it, I'm going to put it, watch it, I'm going to put the video below the slideshow of the lesson on the Moodle page, or in the slideshow you should be able to click this link and it'll take you straight to it. So although the video mainly refers to speaking French in France, some of the tips will actually be quite useful to lessons and in particular exams and thinking of words on the spot, which I know a lot of you do panic about. That's really normal, okay? And she's speaking in English the whole time apart from when she gives French examples. So it's really good for hearing a bit of authentic French, but also maybe building a bit of confidence. But it's also, I wanted to introduce you to her YouTube because I've had a look around it and there was a lot of really great videos on there. Some really good cultural ones about ordering things in France, some grammar points like how to learn different tenses and the words for different foods. And what she does in all her videos, if they're learning vocabulary videos, is explain to you what she expects, like beginners, intermediates and advanced, to be able to do or to focus on. So you can pick what you feel comfortable at your level. So depending on which video it is, you'll be aiming for between beginners and intermediates, because you're not beginners, but some of the things are like advanced stuff, are like really like using idioms in France and things. So you might tend to the beginner part there, so you are intermediates for most of the videos. Okay, you could subscribe to her channel and maybe aim to watch a video a week over the summer just to keep up a little bit of French. Okay, I'm not expecting you to be doing lessons and homework over the summer, but it's really easy to forget vocabulary and your accent, to forget different pronunciations, so it could be something simple. This one is a long one, but you could put it on in the background or doing something, or break it up into bits. You don't have to watch it all in one go, or you might start watching this one and digress into one or others. I don't mind. I think this one will be really useful to you, but please do just watch some of hers. They're great for extra listening practice because she puts words on the screen and for you to pick up and build your vocabulary, but it's not all in French. Her videos are a mixture of French and English, so it's a lot more comfortable to watch than if you're watching something all in French. And they're really realistic videos as well, like how to listen to French people speaking really fast and things like that. Okay, so have a look at her YouTube channel, Comme une Française, or you can find her just by clicking on the link in the slideshow. Okay, well done, Year 10. So we've done a lot of work in this lesson to really look at our past paper skills and how you could answer even if you don't know what something means and you're not sure where to find the answer and so on. And have a look at your numbers over the week, keep looking at those, as well as find some time to watch one of the videos. Okay, I will see some of you in class today on the Monday 29th, some tomorrow on the 30th, and then others of you later on. So you'll complete this lesson at home sometime in the fortnight of when you will have your exam, your class lessons. You get 2 lessons this fortnight, one in school and this one at home. Okay, so well done, Year 10, and I will see you all soon.